So I'm going to be reacting, giving my 2 cents on a Vaush clip. It's 24 minutes long. It's going to be a long video, but I think what Vaush has to say is a lot of really negative, really hateful things, and it's unfortunate. So I want to give some sort of a counterpoint, some sort of a calling Vaush out on some of the things that he's doing. And I understand that Vaush is, I think, an entertainer first before he is a serious political pundit. I think entertainment is his main job and what he focuses on more than actually giving good analyses. But it's still, with an audience as large as his, it's important to point out when he says things that can be hurtful and that will overall harm the discourse. So let's start off here.
MAGA Christian nationalists find out Trump's...
Okay.
Christian nationalism. What does that mean to you, and do you think that we should be a Christian nationalist country?
I believe that we should be protecting our freedom of religion, and it seems that Christianity is under attack in this country. It's pretty evident when college campuses allow things to be talked about, everything under the sun, but when anyone tries to speak about Christianity, they're pretty much shut down.
Name me a more, committed love than Christians in a persecution complex, you know? Jesus fucking Christ. Non-stop with these people.
So right there, Vaush says something where he says, name me a more committed love than Christians and victim complex. He is literally calling out Christians. We haven't seen it yet. And he used the word these people. Later on, he puts people in quotation marks as if they shouldn't actually be considered real people. And so they're obviously, this persecution now is not nearly to the same physical level and societal level as it was before. No one is saying that. It's just when Christian values are attacked and are not supported in academia and in society as a whole, in schools, in town meetings, in anything, even in sports it's being attacked. The idea that there isn't a force pushing down on Christians is a little ridiculous to say, when Vaush is literally part of that force and is actively doing it right now.
See it in protests around the country. People are shut down, and it's really unfortunate. So it is important to me that that's protected.
And do you think the Bible should be taught in public schools?
Yeah.
I believe in protecting freedom of religion. Also, by the way, I'm a Christian nationalist, and
So here, well, hold on.
I mean, why not?
We have a separation.
Okay, so with that previous lady, Vaush calls her out as being hypocritical, essentially, for wanting the Bible to be taught in schools. If you believe something to be true, why would you not want that taught to your children? That's really all that is. He's looking into it in a deeper meaning that I don't think is there. She just wants her children to learn the truth, and that's what she believes to be the truth, and that's what I believe to be the truth. So the idea she's hypocritical there doesn't really make sense, because teaching a religion doesn't necessarily mean forcing them to partake and believe in that religion. The question was, do you believe the Bible should be taught in school, not tested on? Tested on would mean the children have to see it as fact. Teaching just means the children get to see it. We already see this with other issues that are taught that are against the Bible. What you could call that attacking Christian values. So teaching Christian values doesn't necessarily exclude teaching non-Christian values.
Of church and state.
You know, it might be to some people, but not to me.
Well, that's great, lady. That's great. Could you go over there into that ditch, please?
So that was actually the line that made me want to record this video in the first place. Is she says something where I don't believe there is a separation between church and state, and Vaush says, go stand in that ditch over there. Now, like I said, Vaush is obviously a content creator and an entertainer first, but saying something like that and basically saying if you think that government and religion should be tied together, you should be shot and put in a ditch. That's a really dangerous messaging. And what I found even more disgusting later on, or in just a couple seconds here, is you'll see his chat, and a lot of them will be agreeing with him, and he's obviously looking at the chat and feeding off that energy, and it's a negative feedback loop.
Know that God is in charge and
To die peacefully, which you probably will in 2 days.
Vaush realizes what he said was not the best, and he tries to save face by saying to die peacefully after saying go die in that ditch here.
Could you go over there into that ditch, please?
know that God is in charge and
To die peacefully, which you probably will in 2 days, judging from the look of you.
whatever he does it's the only thing to be doing or that can be done. So he's going to
So here in his chat, we can see things like face the wall, hurry up grandma, as in hurry up and die. And it's really unfortunate to see things like this. Throw rocks at her. Like it's unfortunate to see. Here it says jump in a ditch. You'll see it in a
take a
second.
lot. He's going to go a long ways before he destroys the evil.
And what's the evil as you define it now?
Yeah, well, you know,
Man, you just know. Oh man.
So this lady is obviously of a different generation than Vaush and myself. And I go to church and I talk to people of her age, of her beliefs. And there is like a sense of calling out the evil specifically is seen as impolite and not something that is talked about openly. So Vaush is going to say here that this is her not knowing or not understanding her own position, but the vibe I'm getting is this is an old lady that you'd see at church that is out here because she believes that it's the right thing to do, but she doesn't really want to talk about it for politeness reasons, not because she doesn't actually believe or understand the position she's part of. That's my vibe. That's not necessarily what's happening in full 100%. That's what's happening, but that's the vibe I get from this, which is different than Vaush's reaction.
I can't go that far.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
I know the evil and you know the evil, but we don't speak it that way. Christians don't, anyway. I don't.
No, I mean when you refer to evil, because I don't know what, evil to me is people who kill people.
Well, Biden's evil, and that's about all I can say to that.
When you're out there, like when the election is happening and all of you are tasked to vote, please understand that if just one of you who lives in the same state as this lady, if you go out there and vote for Biden when you otherwise might not have, you would cancel out this Hitlerite humans vote.
So there it is right there. He uses humans in quotation marks and also calls her a Hitlerite. And all she's really said is Biden's evil and she has a MAGA hat on. I don't think that makes you a Hitlerite, especially at her age, because older demographics are typically going to be less extreme than younger demographics. That's a pretty common thing. But here he uses person in quotation marks, and it's really sad to see the dehumanizing that Vaush does to people that disagree with him. And this is common throughout the whole video, where someone says something Vaush disagrees with, and he'll make a stereotype. He will call them subhuman and say something to the effect of, let's kill them. And it's really unfortunate to see that level of hatred. And it made me not necessarily hate, but that's the best word I can find for it. Intolerance of listening to other people and seeing them as people who, at the end of the day, really just want what's best for everyone. I don't think any of these people come here with an intent to harm others. We don't see anyone here talk about harming anyone else at all in any of these interviews. But Vaush has already done it. So it's unfortunate to see.
You would annul her vote, okay? All of this woman's life and hate could be struck down by you going out there.
In what ways is he evil?
You know, yeah, I got it all out. Thank you.
So again, Vaush takes this as more of like she doesn't understand her own positions, but I really do think this is just an old lady trying to be polite. Um, I've lived through it. I've talked to these people. They're nice people. They're good people. They just aren't the most articulate or choose not to be. Really, they choose not to be. So I think this is just a lack of experience that Vaush has with talking to people like her. I don't really blame Vaush for his reaction though.
Yeah, that's about right.
So the Constitution was not written for immoral, unjust people. The Constitution was written for moral, spiritual people.
That's great. By the way, dressed him properly. Dark suit, all right? Nice.
This whole interview, all Vaush does is bash how this guy is dressed. He clearly came dressed in his Sunday best and wants to appear presentable. And instead of actually talking about what the guy is saying, which is completely reasonable and completely justified and true at the time of the founding of the nation, Vaush instead just attacks how he looks and how he's, not even how he looks, just how he's dressed. So that's unfortunate, but that's what he does.
Nice, silky, sheeny shirt. Why? Because a button down. Why is that an Oxford shirt, huh? Why is it?
And again, I do want to point out, Vaush is an entertainer. You can see him look at his stream. When he looks down here, it's him looking at his stream. So again, it's not. Vaush is entertaining his stream at the end of the day. So I wouldn't take this clip too seriously.
Isn't it spread collar? Why are you wearing a button-down collar with a goddamn black suit or maybe dark navy? Are you kidding me right now? You know, an Oxford shirt is supposed to be more casual, right? Right?
Who could discern the times and the seasons through the Word of God.
We have, God.
So, Vaush is about to be a little racist here. It's unfortunate that he does that. When he sees a Latino man who is from Latin America supporting Trump, he sees him as that instead of as a person, and it's unfortunate.
God is trying to help America, and the man for the mission is Trump. So we need to follow Trump.
This is this guy is like the apex of the "we don't want your kind here," and it's two Mexican guys talking to each other. TBH, that's a wild criticism. That shirt was fine.
So again, this guy hasn't said anything about immigration at all. He's talked about a Christian nation, and Trump is the person that will lead them to a Christian nation. Just because he agrees with Trump on that doesn't necessarily mean that he agrees with the border or Trump's border policies. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Who am I to say? But Vaush immediately goes to that issue because it's the issue that he sees affects that demographic the most, instead of actually talking about what the person in the video or in the interview is talking about. It's unfortunate that Vaush goes there right away, but that's what he does.
No, it wasn't. If you're going to wear a dark business suit, you should not be wearing a button-down shirt with that. Like, look, it even fits properly.
Well, then this is Vaush just entertaining his stream, nothing serious right in this exchange with his chat.
Yeah.
Through the Word of God.
And
Trump were to lose, what would that mean? That didn't work out, or what would it mean for the country?
well, God has his plan, and God knows everything. If that happens, it means suffering for the people. And I don't think God wants that at this point in time. I think that most of America is a faithful people. America is actually following Christ more than we think. And I think that God knows this.
Do you think America should be an exclusively
I really like how he said that. I think that was really beautifully said. I think the only thing is he said that I would push back on a little bit is God doesn't want, he thinks God doesn't want suffering right now. I think who are we to say what God wants, but otherwise I think he's well spoken here, and does a good job of defending his point.
Christian country?
Yes, but I think that it should be a Christian country.
And let's say we became a Christian country. What would you say to your Jewish...
You guys know, like, when I talk about conservatives being dumb, I mean it, right? Like, it's not just a rhetorical thing. Like, genuinely, they can't think. Like, the ability to do, like, complex reasoning, to engage with follow-up questions, to analyze your beliefs. Not everyone has it. I'm not saying it's, like, an innate thing, either. They've been taught to be like this, right? Like, they've been taught to be stupid. Conservatism teaches you to not think about why you think things.
Jewish friends and neighbors?
Well, I think that the base of this nation was Christianity, and they know that, you know, just like Israel was the Jewish religion, and we know that, and we love them, you know, and we respect them for how their nation is, and they respect us for how our...
So I want to talk about this because Vaush says that conservatives are taught to not actually analyze what they actually believe, and it's like later on I think he calls it a cult-like thing, which is unfortunate because he doesn't know the background of these people. It's possible some were Democrats before and now have become Republicans. It's extremely possible. He has no idea where these people come from. And this guy, I think, handles the follow-up question very well, and I think he does hold up to follow-up questions to defend his beliefs. But Vaush said those things before he even answered any follow-up questions. To Vaush's credit, he does admit, I believe in this clip, that this person seems like a well-reasoned and non-hateful person, is just ignorant. But ignorant to what? Because he seems to understand the issue pretty well, so I don't know.
Our nation is run, and I think that you know, both nations are very, very close, commandments-wise and everything. I think that the right path is to keep...
He seems to be, like, earnestly arguing for a kind of compassionate religious ethno-nationalism, which is interesting.
So I don't know where the ethno comes into play. Religious nationalism is one thing, but ethno-religious nationalism, I don't see where the ethno comes from. This guy, I believe, is an immigrant, just based on having an accent. He may not be. But I believe he's an immigrant, right? And he is obviously white, but he is clearly still mixed. Or not mixed, Latino. And so the idea that this guy is calling for an ethno-state in America is a little absurd and a little ridiculous. And he doesn't say that or even hint to it at all. But Vaush, for whatever reason, brings that up. I don't know why he chose that wording. It doesn't make sense. It seems like he's projecting on what he wants this guy to think so he can tear it down when it's not actually what this guy believes.
The weird thing is, I don't really get hate vibes off this guy for the most part. He just doesn't seem to think much about his positions. I don't know. He didn't, like, recoil when Jews were mentioned or anything. He was just like, yeah, Jews also have a country, you know? Like, yeah, that kind of thing.
America, Christ-like America.
But we have a separation of church and state in this country.
There is separation, but not in the Constitution. The Constitution was based...
Well, technically correct. This is disingenuous. Yeah, certainly.
On our Heavenly Father.
The First Amendment was ratified in 1791. Yeah, the Bill of Rights.
I don't think they...
So, the First Amendment, I think, is often misunderstood. And I'm not really going to fully get into that here. But, I saw a speech, or a clip of someone who said this, where the government is the body and religion the soul, talking about a society. And so, if you have the government and take out religion, then the body loses the soul. And at that point, it can act however it deems fit, instead of whatever moral standards that it should live up to. And I believe that's what this guy's saying, is that the separation of church and state doesn't necessarily need to exist, or shouldn't exist in the Constitution, because the people stabbing the government should be religious people. And that was said earlier by the African-American who Vaush skipped over and didn't talk about his point at all, when he said the Constitution was written for a just and moral people. And I believe that's what this gentleman is referring to as well. That's the vibe I'm getting. I could be misunderstanding him, but that's what I'm getting off. And Vaush looks into it as a very, like, either the state enforces a religion or it doesn't, when I think that's a false dichotomy.
Use those words, though, right?
Not those words, but the men that did the job of writing the Constitution, they were very faithful men.
And we're standing in Virginia. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Articles of Religious Freedom, that everybody here is free to worship whomever they please. Do you think we should teach the Bible in public school?
Yes, I do. I do believe that. I believe that it does brings the spirit of America, and that it helps.
We go over the studies again. They're so funny. Do you mean the studies?
I want to talk about this guy's point. I think it makes a lot of sense. He clearly wants what's best for the nation. He's not hateful at all in anything he's saying. Vaush acknowledged that. Vaush is about to go on a tangent here. Interacting with his chat, he's streaming. That's to be expected, right? Where he basically just cites a bunch of, or doesn't cite anything, just talks about a bunch of studies that refer to conservatives as, I guess, just lesser than liberals on, or not liberals, Democrats on basically everything. So we'll hear this. I'm not really gonna, I might try to find some of these studies that he's referring to. I'll link them if I can find them, but we'll see how that goes.
Is that conservatives are on average lower IQ than left-leaning people, or the studies that indicate that they have a more reactive fear and disgust response that makes them make irrational choices, or the studies that indicate that they're like less socially adept and more like prone to irrational biases? Like the wave of studies indicating the intellectual inferiority of conservatives? Yeah.
The children.
You know, Michael Flynn, he said...
Again, I'll try to find these studies that he's referring to. He doesn't link anything, to my knowledge. I'll do some research. It'll probably be a little tough. We'll see. I'll do my best.
that if the country is one nation under God, it should be one nation under one God. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. Yes.
So what would that do for Donald Trump's Jewish children who don't worship the same God?
Don't they all worship?
To Vaush's credit, he does understand the fallacy in the guy's question being asked in the interviewer. So to Vaush's credit, he does a good job with that.
Isn't it the same God? It's the Abrahamic religions, right? Well, I guess it doesn't matter when you're talking to these people.
But don't they still?
Oh,
I mean, it's
she knows. She knows.
still the same God. They just don't worship Christianity.
So they don't worship Jesus.
Right, right.
Isn't Jesus the God of Christianity?
Well, he is. He's 3 in 1.
And what about our Muslim people in the country? Should they be made to worship Jesus as well?
No. I guess everybody, we should have our. How about we keep religion out of it?
Wait,
Okay, so she's clearly uncomfortable being interviewed here. That's pretty obvious. He's asking her tensious topics or high tension questions, which is fine as an interviewer. But Vaush seems to subscribe to a false dichotomy that if she believes in one God, she must also think that everyone needs to be forced to believe in her one God. And I don't think that's what she's saying at all.
None of their positions survive any scrutiny or follow-up questions. Like, they've genuinely never thought about anything that they say. They don't, again, like, it's not even just hate. It's they've spent their entire lives in a cult. They've lived, their whole life has been in a cult. They haven't looked outside the cult. They interact entirely with other people like them.
So this is another issue. I touched on it briefly earlier, where he talks about them all being in a cult. He doesn't know anything about this woman's life. She could have just joined the faith a year ago, and maybe doesn't think that she is theologically adept enough to answer these kind of questions and doesn't want to make the faith look bad. That's extremely possible. And Vaush just assumes that all these people fit into his same cookie cutter depiction of what he believes to be what he calls Christian fascists, right? Or not fascist, Christian nationalist, Christian fascist, ethno-Christian nationalist, whatever words he uses and whatever words his chat uses here. And it's unfortunate because this doesn't really give much room for the arguments that people make in their words to speak on their own when he's projecting his own view of them and his own view and his own predisposed outlooks upon them. So it's unfortunate that that's what he does. But it is what he does, and it's what everyone in the chat seems to agree with pretty quickly. No thoughts, empty head. That's unfortunate because, I mean, she's clearly looking uncomfortable and doesn't want to be there. And it's a lot of stuff like this that I think overall doesn't really build on anything, and it's just Vaush bashing straw men that he creates out of thin air.
So they don't understand. And then somebody like, so okay, so do you think we should force Muslims to worship Christianity, like the same God in a Christian way? And they're just like, I don't know, like you'd think these would be really basic answers.
So another thing here is none of these people have said that other religious beliefs should be forced to be Christian. None of them have said that. They say that the other religious beliefs are wrong, but they don't say they should be forced to be Christian. But Vaush claims that that's what these people want, when clearly, upon being asked, that's not what they're saying.
That, like, literally, like, so you think this should be a Christian nation? So do you think everyone should be forcibly converted to Christianity? And then they can't answer that?
Like I just said, Christian nation doesn't necessarily mean that the government forces everyone to be Christian. I feel like, I don't know why that's something that needs to be said. It's odd to me. It's odd to me that needs to be said, and that's not assumed. But that's how it is.
Yeah, exactly, Vermin. No, like, self-reflection or anything.
Michael Flynn the other day said...
the most racist man alive, based on physiognomy.
That the country is one nation under God. Do you believe with that?
I do.
He's saying, because we're one nation under God, we should be one nation under one God. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
So what then, like Donald Trump has children and grandchildren who are being raised Jewish. What would happen in that case to people like that?
Well, the Jewish religion, that they have the right to believe in their person, which is God. The Jewish religion believes in God. I personally am Roman Catholic. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus.
You're Catholic and you're in a Trump march? Okay.
And what about a Muslim,
I don't really know why Vaush finds that so surprising. That seems odd to me. Maybe it's because Joe Byron is Catholic. That could be why he thinks that's odd. Vaush, from what I gather, is not religious. I haven't checked myself. I'll check after this recording, and in the description I'll put up if I'm wrong or not. But I don't think Vaush is religious, and the idea that he thinks that Catholics can't support Trump seems odd to me. Or it's not can't, but shouldn't be.
Friend or colleague, would they have the same protections?
As far as their religion goes, sure.
So that Michael Flynn thing, one nation under one God, it's not, he's saying that there's one Christian God is the way I hear it, but you're saying that shouldn't be.
Well, in my eyes, it is, because I am a Christian.
Right, but it should be mandated to the country is what I'm saying. Should we be one nation under one God as the United States of America?
Well, that's what's printed on our money, and that we should.
Well, no, on the money is one nation under God, not under one God. But I agree that the under God.
So my issue here is this guy saying there should only be one God. That doesn't necessarily mean, like, it is a false, that's the whole interview is unfortunate because it's presupposing this false dichotomy between, if you believe there should only be one God for the nation, that means that you also believe that the nation should enforce that top down, when I think a lot of these people want that to come bottom up. And so a lot of these people are, I think, in a state of a little bit of confusion or uncomfortable whenever they hear this, that if you believe this, then you must also, if you believe that there should only be one God, or that there is only one God, then you must also believe that the government should force people to believe in that one God. And I don't think that's what most of these people are saying, but that's how the interview is structured, and That's, I think, what Vaush is also assuming here. So it's odd, and I think a little bit disingenuous.
Wait, sorry, not in the money, in the Pledge of Allegiance. My bad. Yeah. That was added in like the six. Yeah. That's new, by the way. It wasn't under God for like most of American history. That was added recently. Yeah. The money says "In God We Trust," and it's a reference to the Illuminati. And the pledge got edited for like the Cold War bullshit. Yeah.
We say "In God We Trust," right?
Correct.
Money, right? But I'm asking, do you think we should all adopt one God, the same God?
I think if whatever religion you're in, you believe whatever high.
Look at this. Look at this like toothlessness. Okay, this is so indicative. You know what I mean? They have these really strong political beliefs. They vote for these monsters. They'll go along with monstrous policies. But if you go up to them and talk to them, a lot of them don't even seem to understand. This is why I say hate drives a lot of conservatives, but I genuinely think for a lot of them, they're just in a cult and they've never thought about it.
I do think that this guy in the being interviewed is poorly articulate of his beliefs. Vaush claims that's because of brainwashing and cult-like behavior and not looking outside the box. I don't know this guy. That could be true. The vibes I get is he's just a Christian from the Midwest that is more of a libertarian kind of guy. That's the vibe I get. Yeah, I don't know. I agree with Vaush, though, that this guy is poorly articulate of his beliefs. But just because someone is poorly articulate of their beliefs doesn't mean that the whole belief system is bad. I think that's a dangerous slope, a dangerous way to look at it.
Genuinely think that, you know? Keep in mind, these aren't average conservatives. These are the ones who would show up for a rally, right? So we're pre-selecting for, like, a more extreme group of conservatives. And I'm not saying they're not hateful, right? A lot of them are. This guy probably is. I just mean that, like, the dumb animal inability to reflect or introspect might be more of a descriptor of their positions than just...
It's unfortunate he says this, because I think that he is not being very introspective at all, when he will literally talk about throwing a woman in a ditch and shooting her earlier because she called Joe Biden evil and was just like an old boomer lady. And now these guys who aren't even saying anything that crazy, they're just saying they believe in their God and their God should be what the nation believes in, but they aren't even saying like that you should deport or get rid of other people at all. They aren't saying that. So it's unfortunate that that's how he sees it, and he isn't doing any self-reflection. It seems to me he is not doing any self-reflection, and so he isn't practicing what he's preaching really at all, or giving any credence to the fact that he's failing. So
just hatred, you know? Yeah, hatred and fear. Yeah, fear might be stronger in this guy because he's afraid of losing, I don't know, the abstract, the Western civilization, Christian America, whatever else. I don't. It's just, I don't know. It's wild. And you wonder why Republicans have been wanting to tear apart public education for decades, you know? Like, they want more people like this. They want more people who live and who think like this, or who don't think like this, I guess. No, I know Bungabaster. It's just, you know, it's just kind of funny. The Catholics. Do you think capitalist alienation might be responsible for political cults like this? Yeah. Like, obviously, we're less religious than we ever have been on average, but right now, one of the only remaining community centers in a lot of places is the church. Like, the church has always been a community center, but there used to be others that people would go to, and now it's kind of just the church in a lot of areas. So... yeah, I think that to a large...
I do kind of agree. I think it's unfortunate that the church is the only real community center left for a lot of people. I think that's indicative of the strength of the church and why it is an important structure and an important thing to be a part of and to be around. But I do agree, I think there should be more public group spaces, community centers, I think, are not pushed hard enough and are not supported enough. So I do agree with that. But I think the church still standing is indicative of how powerful and important the church is in life, and how so many people find it as a safe place and as somewhere that they can be in a community with others.
Extent, it's kind of like a respite from alienation, you know, something they can.
Your being is.
Or you're an atheist. And...
Well, I'm not.
No, not you. I'm not saying. Sorry, but yeah, no, you're.
And I don't like that.
Remember, as of a poll that I saw a while ago that might not be recent or like true anymore, atheists were the least trusted group to be president in America, less than Muslims or Jews. Atheists were the group least trusted by Americans to be president.
You know.
Michael Flynn said that America is one nation under God, and he says if America is one nation under God, they should be one nation under one God. Do you agree with that?
I'm an American, you know, one nation under God. That's how I feel, but that's a little touchy, you know, a little touchy.
General Flynn recently said that America should.
He asked, "Is it a little touchy?" When Vaush himself is literally talking about killing these people who believe these things that go against what he thinks. So yeah, I would agree it might be a little touchy, and that guy may just be trying to protect himself in this scenario.
Should be one nation under God and one nation.
Okay, just to look at this guy, by the way, Hitlerite. Immediate impression Hitlerite. We'll see.
Under one God. How do you feel about that?
To Vaush's credit, he does say, "We'll see," but at the same time, that's a really bad thing to say just by looking at someone who is decked out in something where he supports America and supports Trump. So, we'll see what Vaush does here.
Under one God, I am a Christian myself, and I do believe in God. I think that there's a lot of unholiness that happens, and there's more things. I think it's on a much deeper level when it comes to big politicians. We have career politicians nowadays. We don't have anyone who is of the working class any longer. We have career politicians, and I don't believe that that's right.
I'm just reading this as JQ signaling because this guy gives me Hitlerite vibes. So
and another thing, Vaush right there admits that even if this guy brings up good points and says things that Vaush may agree with, Vaush sees it as just propaganda because he already labeled this person as a, quote, Hitlerite in his eyes.
Populism to me just sound like, well, I mean, we'll see, but like that's the vibe I'm getting.
So,
and then finally, I want to add.
Oh, that's it. Okay, I guess I don't really know then. Better vote for Trump, the billionaire.
We were talking about being a Christian.
Again, to Vaush's credit, he doesn't officially call him, like, claim that he's a Hitlerite officially, but he does mention it twice. So, yeah.
Michael Flynn, who you recall from the previous administrations, he recently said that if America should be one nation under God, they should also be one nation under one God. What do you think of that?
As a Christian, I mean, I'm a Catholic, but overall I'm a Christian. And I don't really agree with him on that end. I mean, we all disagree on things.
President Biden's a Catholic, and he's an observant Catholic. He goes to church every Sunday. Yeah. How do you feel about not supporting someone, or do you feel a bind to support someone who is Catholic?
I don't feel a bind to support him. I don't think he should be receiving communion as a Catholic. To support abortion and the murdering of millions of innocent children, I don't know how he can receive communion and say he's a Catholic. I don't know how he could do that. And that's our faith. That's what we believe, and we're a pro-life church. I mean, I go to church right down the road, and every single Sunday, that's the first thing they say is we are a pro-life church. And for him to
that's great, man. These are the community spaces that capitalism has left us.
Have the position he does.
Vaush attacks it from a capitalist angle, or from a class angle. I don't know if that's necessarily the best angle to look at this. I think it's more so like a generational issue. But what this guy's saying makes sense. It's logically consistent internally, and Vaush has nothing to say about it, which I think is good that Vaush isn't picking at self that doesn't exist here. I think this person is well articulate and well spoken.
To not support that, it's pretty embarrassing, to be honest.
There's a lot of talk about religion in this election and Christian national.
Vaush is about to say some, I think, again, a great example of really messed up things with people you don't believe in. And Vaush will, you'll see, do a complete 180 on what he says after this person says things that Vaush agrees with. And it's really odd to me that he can do that 180 and not feel any remorse or any guilt about it at all. Again, he is an entertainer. So everything he says probably is a good bit influenced by him trying to entertain people, but at the same time, I think a lot of this is really bad and really dangerous.
Nationalism. What does that mean to you, Christian nationalism?
Well, I'm a Christian, so, you know, I believe in all of it. And I believe Donald Trump is a Christian. And, you know, it's a good Lord that put us here. It's a good Lord that wrote the Constitution. That's what it's all.
That's great. That's great, Grandpa. That's great. Back into the hole. Get back into. Open up the cellar hatch. Yep. All right. That was a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you again.
So I think Vaush has a couple different ways of how when he talks on stream. I think this one is an example of him saying something a little outrageous, a little bad, and then looking at his stream. You can see his eyes. He's looking at the stream chat to make sure that they agree with him, right? And he wants to feel supported and feel like what he's saying is a good thing to say. A lot of other times when he's making a joke, he'll just start making the joke and he won't really be focused on whatever the chat's doing. But I think he's a little bit uncomfortable with this joke and not entirely sure about it, so he's looking at chat to make sure they're okay with it.
Again next year. Go back into the hole.
It's all about, and you know, so I'm all about it.
That's great.
You're crediting the Lord with the Constitution.
I'm sorry, what was
You're
that?
crediting the Lord with the Constitution.
Yes, I am. I credit him with everything.
Michael Flynn, he recently said that we are one nation under God, and he thinks we should be one nation under one God. Do you agree with that as well?
Well, yes and no. That's a.
He doesn't know what the guy just asked. He doesn't know what was just asked of him.
Unfortunate that Vaush immediately goes to, oh, this guy's stupid, when he is giving a more complex answer than what Vaush may want. It's unfortunate.
It's a fine line there. I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. If somebody else wants to believe something else, that's up to them. Don't push it on me just because I don't believe in it. Don't push your religion, your.
These are the most tolerant Christian nationalists. I actually like this group of people because they're much more normal than most of the Trump supporters. Like yeah.
He claims these are much more normal than most of those Trump supporters. These just are the Trump supporters at the Trump rally. Like, this isn't a select group. These are just the people there. So Vaush saying that, I think he's online a lot, obviously. He's a streamer. So he interacts with people online and doesn't really seem to go out into the real world and talk to Trump supporters in person like this. So I think that's where he's getting that connotation from and that belief from.
Yeah, I'm a Christian nationalist, as in I, as a man of Christ in my nation, believe you should be allowed to believe whatever you want. Like, what?
Again, Christ never told anyone they have to follow him. He has many times, in fact, said, if you don't follow me, then leave. He just says he's the only true way to salvation, and that you are wrong to leave and to do so. And so it's definitely not mutually exclusive to believe in God and then also believe that people should have religious freedom, because that's one of the core tenets of Christianity, is that if you don't believe in Jesus, no one's going to force you to. It's a internal battle between good and evil within you, and it cannot be disingenuously forced upon you.
What are you talking about? Like, I think he means that I think he believes that Christian nationalism is just when there are Christians in a nation, you know? I was expecting more rabid anti-Semitism. Me too, but I'm kind of glad that it goes this way, because most of the time when we see Trump supporters in a crowd being questioned, we hear from the most, like, ludicrously far-right people, and I feel like these guys are much more representative of the broader the broader MAGA, movement.
Okay, to Vaush's credit, he acknowledges what I just said. I didn't realize he said that. He basically acknowledges what I said in that this is more representative of the average Trump supporter. So to his credit, I think he's right on that.
I think this is a lot better. Brogger, change the group chat name.
You know, your sexuality, that's fine. If you want to be that.
What?
Me, just because I don't believe in it. Don't push your your religion, your sexuality. That's fine. If you want to be that way, be that way.
All right, Grandpa, you can get up out of the hole. All right.
This is the 180 I'm talking about. Now he's allowed to sit at the dinner table because he agrees with Vaush. And obviously he is an entertainer, but you have to acknowledge that the things that he is saying and is talking about is excluding a member from society if they don't agree with him on whatever core issues like religion in this case.
All right, I'm opening up the cellar hatch. I am unclicking the 16 locks that we use to keep you down there. I'm lifting it up. All right, you can climb back up the ladder. You can come on out, Grandpa. Come on out. Let's have dessert together.
Don't push it on me.
General Flynn,
All
he
right.
recently said that
Sure.
America is one nation under God, but he also went further and said America is one nation under one God. It should be. Do you think that should be the case?
This nation was founded on Judeo-Christian principles.
Use of the term Judeo-Christian is a massive red flag because it's used almost exclusively in like specific online circles, like anything in the broader Prager orbit, you know?
So, you know, we're a welcoming nation.
He says that, and maybe that's true now, but in the past it hasn't always been like that. So I think, and this guy's obviously an older gentleman, so he's likely using it genuinely and not trying to say anything disingenuous about his position. He really is just using that term because it's what he grew up with.
It's just that we're a nation of laws, and if they keep coming over illegally, we're not. We can't support it.
Michael Flynn, who you probably know from, Michael Flynn the other day said that if we are one nation under God, then we should be one nation under one God. Do you think that's true?
I mean, there is one God. Yes, that's true. It's one God. But
Okay.
there's so many different religions that have their own God, I guess. Yeah.
Jesus fuck.
Which when she says that, I don't think that she believes those gods also exist, but Vaush is gonna, I think mostly just for entertainment values, going to agree, or going to say that she does think those values exist. I think that's mostly entertainment value, though. I don't think he actually thinks that.
Okay. All right. Sure. Hell yeah. This is like the monotheistic pantheon theory, which is you only believe in one god, but there are also other one gods that other people believe in. Okay, this is like Neil Gaiman territory right here. This is what happened when the conquistadors went over to modern day Mexico and were trying to explain to the tribes over there what Jesus Christ was, and they were like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, I will worship him too, along with my many other gods," and like showing them like little statues carved of birds with like wolf heads or something, you know, like yeah.
I mean, that's again, it's an example of Vaush taking a minority group or a specific demographic and just like stereotyping them. And I mean, I think it's for entertainment value, obviously, but at the same time, it seems a little odd to me and a little bit problematic when you do something like that.
I will add him to my, yeah. God damn it. I really do believe that, like, after, past all of it, I really do believe the average American conservative is decent-hearted, just deeply confused and misinformed. I do really think that. I think a lot of them are more fearful than hateful. And a lot of them are just like in cults and just have very selective access to information where they get force-fed a bunch of dog shit and slightly stupid and very stupid. Yeah. Well, that was interesting. It still has 15 seconds on it.
Yeah, that's what he meant. He meant instead of having Allah, the Muslim God.
Never mind. I might have spoken too soon.
And the Buddha God, and yeah. The Indians, they didn't have a god. They had, what, spirits or something?
I don't think she's very well informed. Obviously. But. No, there's no but. I don't think she's super well informed, but I do think she means well.
It's kind of like, how the Old Testament was written back when polytheism was pretty rampant? So the God of the Old Testament was like, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me," and the implication from that is the idea that like there were Egyptian gods and that the Old Testament God just killed them or like overtook them, and it used to be like a pantheon that Yahweh overtook or something. Yeah, because everyone was polytheistic back then, Mindforge. Like, imagine being a monotheist like 2,000 years before the birth of Christ. Jesus Christ. Well, that was interesting.
Vaush talks about some other stuff that is irrelevant to the main video. No, I think it's important though to point out whenever people from the left or from any area really talk about these things and generalize a group of people and say they're saying things that they clearly aren't saying in the video itself. And you can see that people in chat agree with him holistically pretty much throughout the video. I only saw maybe 2-3 comments that disagreed with him, and obviously he doesn't see those, which I think is very likely, or he just doesn't, or he chooses to not address them, which is possible, but I think there's so many comments, it's more likely he just doesn't see them, to his credit. It's unfortunate when I see someone talk about these things in a little bit of a dangerous manner. I hope that Vaush and this is an older video, this is 3 months old at this point when I'm looking at it, but I mean, Vaush should have a responsibility to keep things, I think, peaceful, and I think he does quite the opposite, oftentimes just to get a laugh out of people, but I do think it is dangerous and disingenuous in many points. Thanks for watching.